What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Epic 7 video. Today let's do our Benimaru honest review, and this video is coming out a little later. I ended up doing some extra testing, trying a lot of different builds to try to make him successful in real-time arena for a slower bruiser style player, and I'll let y'all know the results, different styles of builds that I tried, this one being the latest. But I also want to talk about, you know, the roundup between him, Milim and Rimuru, which ones you should pull for if you have limited bookmarks, which artifacts you should try to go for in terms of powder, especially Benimaru's artifact. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that because it's very important. And yeah, let's go ahead and start our honest review of Beni. Real quick before we continue, y'all, I would love to hear from you guys on how your summons went for Benimaru, if you did indeed already pull. I think I did 1,300 or maybe a little bit more, 1,400 bookmarks worth. I don't know the exact amount because I ended up wailing out a tiny bit because I really wanted to get his artifacts and more imprints. So in 1,400 or 1,300 bookmarks, I think I pulled 6 copies of Beni, which was very lucky. I'm very happy with that. But I only pulled 2 copies of his artifacts, but I pulled like 5 5-star artifacts total. It's just 2 or 3 of them were off banner artifacts, like this Zahak one, this Sermia one. So I was able to get 2 and I had to powder the 3rd one. Now after you guys tell me your summon luck, I want to hear just some quick thoughts because that's not the main topic of this video, but I do think as a community it's something we need to maybe ask for from Smilegate. And that is just maybe reducing the chance of getting off-banner artifacts or eliminating it, period. I don't know if that's too much to ask for because, you know, they're a company. They're trying to make the most money. But I think, what, year 4, almost year 5 into the game now, it's something maybe we could push for. Or at least an idea I've heard is when you hit pity for, let's say we're going for Benimaru, if we already have like Benimaru or Triple S, or you just have enough copies of them that you want, when you get to that 121 summon pity, you can choose to get the artifact as well. Now I know we can buy an artifact with powder. Like I said, I ended up picking a 3rd one with powder, and that was something given to us by Smilegate. That wasn't always in the game if you didn't know, so I'm very happy about that. But I do think it is a little bit tough, at least, especially I should say, on limited and collab banners, for people to pull artifacts, get that 5-star artifact to summon, right? When you see the bottom left character pop up, when you're summoning, you're excited, and then it unfortunately is a, you know, not the artifact that you wanted. Maybe that might be too much to ask, but I think as a community we can ask for a little bit more help on off-banner artifact scares. But that's for another video for another time, guys. Just let me know your quick thoughts. Okay, guys, back to the review. Let's talk about the 2 builds I'm showing here on the screen. The left-hand side build is the one I tried the latest. And the thought process behind this build is simply to survive, get a counter, and that way if our opponent holds their skills, we're going to have a counter S1, plus the skill 3 is going to give us enough fighting spirit to activate our skill 2 health flare, regardless of whether or not our opponent, you know, procs our multi-layer barrier by using their skills. So if you guys didn't watch my first impression video, I thought that Benimaru was going to have an issue where in RTA, remember this is specifically for real-time arena, where we're fighting a real player and not against an AI opponent, like in arena or guild wars, where they're going to hold their skills and then just try to get around Benimaru that way, either via killing him or just, you know, not using their skills to proc his multi-layer barrier, where he gets a CR push and the extra defense pen, etc. I was correct in that a lot of players, you know, just don't use the extra turn abilities if you try to counter with Benimaru, and then they're going to try to kill him afterwards. That's what this build was for, and it worked okay. I think the fact that it's 30% counter, and the fact that just we've seen it with Celine, sometimes with Politis, even though Politis is a special example because her S2 still provides so much value. Maybe some people will say Teiyu. Any unit that has that punishes players for using the non-attack skills, or for Benimaru extra turns, we've already seen in the RTA meta that players can play around it by just holding their skills. And in the case of units like Lua, she doesn't even care, guys. She just doesn't skill 2. She will just still skill 3, and Benimaru will get reset along with his team. So I think there's a lot of scenarios in RTA where he's not going to do well. And that's what the left side build is for. The right side build is a typical build like Green Celine, for example. I still just like to emphasize bulk. That way he can, you know, maybe take a hit or 2 if they do hold skills. But oftentimes, you know, you're fighting opponents when they have those openers like Conqueror Lilius, like Lua, like Ahmed, like Ran. They're going to have a ton of damage too, so, you know, don't expect them to survive too much. For Arena and Guild Wars, guys, Benimaru is an absolute monster, but I don't think I need to tell y'all that. If you're building him for that kind of purpose, Arena and Guild Wars, then you can even drop more bulk if you want and emphasize even more damage. Either just the builds I tried for my own style in RTA as a bruiser style player. So if you do play a little bit slower, maybe try one or probably try the left one if you can, guys. I do think that's probably the best way to force a slower style Beni. because smart opponents, like I keep mentioning, will hold their skills. Now let's quickly summarize my overall thoughts on Benny. So we established that if we want to use him for RTA, we need to be ready for opponents that aren't going to activate him and go into our game plan. They're not going to give you that multi-layer barrier unless they have something, either they messed up or they have a extra game plan against you, like extra CR to push past Benimaru's push, and then they kill him that way. But regardless, just expect your opponent to not give him the multi-layer barrier and that big skill 3 into Hellflare like you want. But I do think there's a lot of value from Benny that, you know, we are kind of overlooking. So I don't want anyone to not try him out in RTA. You want to pull on his barrier for multiple reasons, which we're going to cover at the end, so stay tuned for that. But things like him punishing Spectre Tenebria's soul burn for those, you know, people that want to just dump those souls. Politis, same thing. Units like Desert Jewel Bazaar has an extra turn, where if you have a Benny there, they're kind of just added benefits. I don't think you should use Benimaru to stop any of those 1 units individually, but I'm kind of just mentioning that there's a lot of value to this countering extra turn that maybe we haven't really fully realized. But overall, I think for the current meta, if you're a bruiser player like me, and you want him to just be the end-all be-all against extra turn units like those fast openers, just be very wary. You're going to need to come in a little bit more carefully and have a game plan for when your opponent ends up holding their skills. One other thing, guys, is I think for aggro and cleave players, big shout out to my friend and mod Redos. I think Benimaru might have some potential as a cleaver or even like an aggro versus aggro sort of competition unit, where they're going to be worried about, you know, what skills can they hold, who's going to be faster, because he does threaten that extra turn push. And if you're also fast as well, then if their opponent holds their skills, you have units that maybe can cut in that way. So I think there's, like I keep mentioning, a lot of different ways to run Benny. Just he may not be the best unit for RTA, but obviously, once again, for Guild Wars and Arena, God tier unit, make sure you get him. He's already shifting the Guild War defense meta as we speak. All right, guys, let's quickly zoom through the skill enhancements and artifacts. Not too much to talk about here. Plus 15 when you can. If you have to skip on the skill 1, as the skill 2 and the skill 3 are the real money makers. Grace of Growth means is decent as well, but you do want to max out the skill 1 eventually, because you will sometimes cycle back to this. Even in my examples, this was kind of a clutch moment where it does good damage, so plus 15 this guy when you can. In terms of artifacts, guys, if you want to try that left side build I was showing, the tanky counter style build, anything with mitigation is great. I tried Draco Plate, Sigurd's Scythe, and Proof of Valor. They all have their kind of niches, or sorry, strengths and weaknesses in different scenarios. Proof of Valor, if you already have mitigation from other, you know, units, like Little Queen Charlotte, just to name one. Maybe you don't need that, but versus very strong cleave, it's great. Sigurd's Scythe, if you just want to go that lifesteal route where, you know, you probably will dip below 50. If you do end up getting that counter or lead into that skill 3, you can make Benimaru live a lot longer. Draco Plate's like the best of both worlds. We get damage and we get some damage mitigation as well. In terms of on the damage build, guys, I think the main two is, of course, just a artifact like Portrait, where you just get the straight damage. Remember, there's also that other artifact, guys, if you didn't pull for the Guilty Gear. Doesn't have to be Portrait, but the other 20% damage one that you all should have access to is Symbol of Unity, and this one gives hit chance as well, which is very nice. When combined with this 50% hit chance from multi-layer barrier, we're able to completely negate evasion from units like Auden, Remnant Violet that are sitting at 70% evasion. Now, his own artifact I think is okay for Benimaru. Just remember, it is an RNG artifact, so even like me, who has spent a lot in this game, I can't plus 30 it at the moment. Just didn't get lucky enough. So you're going to be playing an RNG game if you don't plus 30 it. But I think this is okay. Just remember, guys, if you are going for the game plan, so if this is for Arena Guild Wars, or if you're expecting your opponent to use a skill, he does cleanse himself anyways and becomes immune via the multi-layer barrier. So, you know, this may not always be the best, but if you are going to expect to not run an attack up unit, or if, for example, you're expecting your opponent to hold their skills, it's nice to have that immunity as well, so you can run that pen set on top of it. Alrighty, guys, closing thoughts on these 3 banners and just Benimaru as a whole. Let's go ahead and start with Benimaru here. Guys, the artifact itself is so good. This thing is jam-packed with value. I expect down the line for this to become very meta, and I think right now we're just barely breaching the surface on who this is good on, but I'm already theory crafting a ton of different options who can make good use of this. I think you guys are as well, and it could end up being similar like Guiding Light in terms of how powerful it is for certain warriors. So make sure you grab at least 1 copy, guys, via powder. Now, free to plays, listen up. Beyond that, be very careful. I do recommend, if you can, try to get 2, if not 3, but that is so risky, because watch this. If you skipped around, guys, in my video, watch the first 2 minutes where I talk about, you know, us maybe asking Smilegate for a little more leeway on off-banner arties, as right now, if you pull the one copy of this artifact with powder, guys, there's no pity. There's no guarantee you get another one. You could end up spending tens of thousands of bookmarks and not see another Benimaru's tachi ever. So be very careful. But you do want to get as many multiple copies and try to keep them separate for now. Bottle one, keep at least one separate. That way down the line you have at least two, if not maybe more, for those of you that can spend a little bit. So that way if this does end up taking off and becoming meta on multiple units, you have those ready, because this is not going to come around at least for a year, if ever again. In terms of like between Rimuru and Milim, who should pull, I did an in-depth video, guys, on the Amazon channel if you want to look that up. Otherwise, I'll quickly share my thoughts. I think Rimu will be the bottom of the barrel. Still try to get one of them because he's still good in niche RTA scenarios. He's still used even at higher levels of play. He's just not the disaster that he used to be. And his artifact is just not very good overall. You can skip this unless he gets buffed. You might want to get one for collection, but I've never used it. I don't think it's very good overall. Milim, though, is very, very strong in the current meta, so definitely pull her over Rimu. But her artifact in general, Knuckles, even though I use this personally at plus 30, there's other options. I think I covered also on that other video that counter book or counter plus book is just a more well-rounded bruiser for this, and you don't have to plus 30 that. But lifesteal Knuckles can be very, very strong. So if you can't plus 30 this, you know, it obviously goes way down in value. So between Benimaru and Milim, if you're going to whale out for one of them, I probably would go for Benimaru, as the artifact I think is shaping up to be very, very powerful. And plus crit chance on Benimaru is very strong too. So try to get at least one copy of both Benimaru and Milim. Or sorry, try to get one copy of all the heroes. Definitely first, and then if you want to whale out for more artifacts, definitely whale out for the Benimaru and try to get extra arties, because I think it is going to be very, very strong down the line. All right, guys, we'll wrap up the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, guys.